Welcome to Inspired Artist Podcast with me, Porter Singer. I get to speak with Nina and Edie again in this episode. We're going to be talking about sacred desire. And then after that, I'm going to just talk about the safety card because I actually had to miss last week due to illness and some travel. So I wasn't able to publish the Sacred Desire episode last week. So I'm going to combine them because today is the release of the song that is inspired by the safety card, this beautiful card that they made. And the song is Safe and Sound. So I'll play that at the end of the episode. Here we go.
So yeah, the Sacred Desire card, the painting was, I remember for that painting, I felt very much like playing with, even though it's not done in a very meticulous way, but I wanted to play with sort of these shapes, these geometric type shapes, and like the leaves of the flowers. Or the petals or the leaves, whatever they kind of are. That's also a little bit more abstracted. Like it wasn't I'm painting this particular plant or flower. It was like, I'm going to paint some design, almost more like, or I say geometrical shape. Again, they're not really geometrical, but that was my feeling behind it. Wanting to sort of dip my toes into that and play with that and be very bold in the color, which most of the paintings are, but then some are, calmer. And this one I felt like bringing some pink. And that's not a color I use off. Well, I do use it, but it's not often the background. So I'm thinking the other card, which we already talked about, which it has, but it's a soft pink. And this one was kind of a bit more fiery in its own way, or I don't know if fiery is the good way to say it, is more vibrant maybe. But then also like having a figure that's peaceful, that's like centered. And I think for me, the sacred desire, like desire carries with it some of that vibrancy and some of that energetically, that like richer color, kind of like the reds and oranges and pinks. But then the sacred desire, the deeper kind of like really intentional, like what is it my soul wants, like that's thing. I feel like the little character in the painting represents sort of that space. Like, okay, I'm here meditating. I'm in the here and now. That's a few things that come up for me when I think about the painting and the card and the entry.
The cupped hands too. Do you have anything like, was that I don't even know how to ask it, but what does that mean to you?
That's a receptivity for me. Like, and I actually, not for long periods, but I do meditate in that pose sometimes. So I guess I know, but it's not like I sit in that pose for an hour. Like, but it's a receptivity gesture or mudra. Like for me, it feels like, which I hadn't really thought about it as much. So I'll give it a little bit more thought while you both talk more about the song and the words for the card.
Yeah, Nina.
Yeah, I love hearing. I could listen to you all day, Edie, talking about your art. This is so great. I want to do every card. It's just so fun. So like for me, growing up Catholic, mainly, I guess, mixed, but I went to Catholic school, and there was this strong teaching that like desires are evil, desires are bad, and not just sexual desire, just kind of all desire, right? Like you're supposed to follow what the church or what the adults or the teachers or your parents, and it's like this motion of like closing in all the time, kind of like shutting down the heart. And instead of opening and trusting, right? And so recently, I would say over the past like 5 or 6 years, I read an article to find it, but it's by Audre Lorde, I think is her name, and she's a feminist scholar, and she writes about this idea of saying yes and of sacred desire, and that really we can't go wrong, because if that desire is in our heart, it is for the benefit of everyone, right? If it's not coming from the ego, the wound, like if it truly is like this girl and the pink and in this gesture and this focus, like there is no way your desires are going to harm others. Quite the opposite, right? And I've come to also realize that the universe, God, however you want to call it, what if there is a dream that was there for us, you know, that our soul incarnated, and when those two align, like that's our purpose, right? So our own sacred desires, like this GPS that is showing us, oh, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, I'm a singer, I'm a lawyer, whatever it is. And like when we find joy in that, it matches what like our soul was called to do. And so how can that be wrong? How can that be bad, right? And if we don't say yes to it, we are miserable, right? We feel misaligned, we suffer, we're in more pain and less joy. And so I love the colors, you know, and this card was just so clear to me, like with the vibrancy of it for this theme.
Okay, so you just said that you read this article and she was talking about saying yes. And so I was like, oh, wait, did I get that from your booklet? And I looked and I'm like, no, I did not get that from your booklet. So that's really interesting to me.
Song, yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
So the first sentence is, many of us have been raised to fear the resonant yes within ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And to mistrust our longings.
Okay,
but then
so
she talks about that idea of sacred desire. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I don't really remember where the lyrics came from at the moment that I wrote them. I tried not to borrow too much, but that's cool.
No, it's beautiful. I love this song too.
That's so, I love all the things you said about it, Nina, and that the song has the yes in it as well, because I feel like it's so real that in our culture is like that we, you know, need to not desire things, and that there is a deeper like way of like connecting to the all that is within and through our.
Did you grow up in the US, Edie?
No, I grew up in Holland.
Okay,
Netherlands.
okay. Because so we both grew up in France and you grew up in Holland. The United States, I find is actually a little bit more positive about desire.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody, but the idea of following your dream is not as silly of a notion in the United States. But
but you also notice that it can become like there's sometimes a fine line between maybe desire and excess or indulgence, and like, you know, or that can get mixed into the like what like to really become kind of bare about what is it that I desire, because I could start naming 20 things that I desire, but then if I really take them under the loop, I'm like, actually I don't really desire that, or maybe I desire that because I think it will bring me this other thing. That's kind of, you know, the more, again, sort of more sacred desire. Like a lot of desires are ego desires, and which I find it can be tricky to sort of tease apart, like what is my sort of which, you know, maybe in American culture that's sort of like I want like I can have everything, versus what is the sort of more rooted sober version of it, but not sober in that, you know, religious like Protestant, in my case, sort of like Calvinistic way, but yeah, I do also know what you mean, and I do think that there's in Europe it's a different there's maybe a little bit more shame even around that base level, like
well, this is so interesting because this week I'm in this business class sort of thing, and she just shared this article by Renee Girard. I think he's French actually, probably. But it's called How to Know What You Really Want. And he has, his theory is called mimetic theory, basically that like not all of our, but most of the things that we want because somebody else has them, as opposed to like really being like something that originated within ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's, which is why I think, I mean, you very smartly called it sacred desire. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's a big parental ancestral component, right? If in some families it's very desirable or respected to be an artist and not to be wealthy, but in other families it's like, no, you must be a doctor or a lawyer, otherwise the rest is very undesirable. And so how much of that is ours? And that's a process, right? You could work with this theme for a long time, to untangle what is yours, what is carried, what is societal. Like in America, it's respected to be a billionaire. In Europe, it's kind of like, oh, you must have stolen something, or you must be a little unethical, right? There's like that mistrust because of the history of royalty, you know, like they did, you know, kind of unfairly hold all the money and the power, and the church did as well. So there's reason for that mistrust. But here we, you know, in the US, we have a little bit of the other extreme, is like the Puritan ethic of you are worthy. If you are rich, that means God looks favorably upon you, right? And so we look down upon people. So it's, you know, it neither has it, you know, in a way that maybe is very healthy. But I do agree with you, in America, there's more of this like, you can do it, but then it's kind of focused on the individual. Right? It's a little bit of a hero's journey, which is fine, but like we're a little bit forgetting about the communal, the societal, like what happens to everybody else, right? With the lone hero or Hollywood's fame situation. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and another component of this that we haven't talked about yet is, which is why I mentioned it in the song, is feeling that you're worthy of your desires, which is also why I asked you about the receptive thing, because to me, this person, there is no question that, I'm going to say she, but they, I don't know, are worthy of what they want. They're just asking for it, and they know that, you know, that this thing within them is going to blossom. In fact, it has blossomed all around them. That's how I see it. So, but that's something that's sort of beat out of us, I think, too, because we come in being like, oh, can I have this? Can I have this? And then we learn not to ask.
You know, not to ask. And then also like you have to work hard, right? Which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with hard work, but there's a little bit of it's a little too much, right? Like you must suffer to deserve or to receive. Yeah. When we look at nature, like nature, the tree isn't, I mean, it's, let's say a mango tree, like covered in mango. It's not like it's amazing working harder than another tree. And I mean, not, right? Like bounty is not something that as humans we're used to, like this bountiful abundance. We have to work. That's something we have to work at changing a pattern around, right?
Yeah. Well, when you look at all the kids that are making millions, making YouTube videos, I feel like it's reversing.
Yeah, maybe.
They know something we don't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Were you going to say something, Edie?
No, I don't think I had anything to add that was gonna, like, I just felt like, yes, like, you know, whatever saying about all of this, like the abundance issue of like just the sort of how much shame there is around receiving, and, you know, reception being like the feminine principle, and sort of like this whole allowing for it to come to you and to actually be able to receive it. It's a huge learning curve, I feel, that we're in as a society, and that we're still at the beginning of.
That's such a great point. It just actually occurred to me how all the shapes here are open, right? Like the flower is open. These things, they feel like feminine. Feminine receptive, like vulvas. Yeah.
Shapes. Yeah. And yeah.
Everything is open. I love that.
Yeah, these things make their way into my art without me. Like I never thought that, right? But now you say it. As soon as you put up the card, I was like, yeah. And then having this talk, and then I'm like, oh God, it all like totally weaves together. But yeah, it's again, it's not like always intentionally, thought of. It's not manipulated in that way, but it was, yeah, it works. It's these themes, they all come in and out and blend. But yeah,
it's really tough figuring out what you actually want, because you have to go so inward. I'm actually really consciously working on this right now to create like less derivative desires for myself, or at least pinpoint them. I must have them already, but to pinpoint them.
What you just mentioned about this mnemonic,
mimetic, like mimicking, I guess.
And wanting what we see others have, or like what, I mean, it's completely like, even in children, you see like it's so strong and we carried it on, but then to like, it's really interesting, I think, to sit with that. It's really cool.
And I think we have to, like everything, go back to our body. Like our body will give us the clues, because we might think, oh, well, this will make me happy. And then we get it, and it's not the case, right? So we have to allow that, the heart and that desire, to guide us, like through, do I feel more relaxed when I think of doing this? Does that bring me joy, even though financially it's maybe not the smartest thing or whatever, like my parents don't approve, but does it bring me joy? Does it light me up? I think that's because often if we're in our head, we're not going to figure out the sacred desire. Like if we stay with our body, we drop into our heart. And I talk about that in the card, like dropping into the voice of our root, of our womb space, like that creative place. And that can give us some clues of the steps in the direction of those sacred desires.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you just made, because we have to have a bit of a guideline, I feel, in like, how do we know what is even desirable? But you just said, like, does it give me joy, or does it make me feel joyful? And I think that, like, just a very simple, like, you can even make it simple, like, does it make me more happy? Like, but joy is a better word in a way, but like, and then to kind of have a little bit of a North Star with this, because the world is telling us that we must want everything from, I don't know, like a certain type of car to like a certain like facial cream to whatever. Like, so it's like, and yeah, it's really hard to even know, I think, for most of us, like, how do you even start to what kind of measure do you use? Like, because we use money, for example, like, the more money, the better. No, that is old. That is not real. It's not true,
And your inner child can be the clue. Like, so the body and connecting with your inner child, which is why we included it in here, because they were unfiltered by money, power, fame. They didn't have those filters. So when you remember like being 3 or 4 or 5, like what just like connects to that joy, even if it's not the same dream, of course, the dream can evolve, but learn from your inner child, allow him or her or they to remind you of what it's like to have that unfiltered, unbiased, like just heart opening joy, and I am worthy to receive, right? Like I'm not judging myself. I can receive this from the world.
Yeah, a huge component of this, I'm thinking, as you're talking about that, is not just the turning within, but it's the belief in something that doesn't yet exist, because we're all unique. So we all came here, and I'm sure that our desires are something that does not exist yet. Because if it did, we wouldn't need to have them. That's my guess. So believing in something that's invisible, I mean, that requires a lot of inner work.
That requires a lot of trust. I think that's what trust.
Look what you did. It didn't exist.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
And it just came to us, right? Like, it's like we're looking at these cards and we're discovering them, because it's not for us, right? Like we had this desire to create this deck because it will hopefully serve, right? Some people out there who can find some benefit from it. So it is, yeah. I love what you said, Porter.
Yeah. There's a like, and for in with painting, like I have made so many paintings and still am, like, this has always been part of my artistic journey, to be very honest with myself, and because I've repeated myself, and I have like sort of manipulated certain ways of creating sometimes in order to, but I think to have a certain result. But I think that I always challenge myself to come back to creating for the sake of creating, and for the sake of I find joy in this. I find meaning in just the act of it. And so sometimes these paintings come through and I'm like, okay, and I don't really know what it's for, and I don't have a purpose for them or a reason for them. And this is why it was for me so special and beautiful to sit with Nina and go through all this work that some of them haven't really been shining. They've just been like, because I make a lot, and then they just kind of sit there. And some of them do go out in the world and get their sunshine and their purpose in the world, but many of them don't, because they just don't. And it's like, for the cards, it's just kind of like, wow, I don't know, my heart just gets really full, because I'm like, oh wow, these little babies, like they do, it does serve a purpose, just to creating for the sake of creating, even if you don't know yet, like 10 years how all these little threads are going to weave together. And that's, I think, for every one of us, in whatever it is that you do, and that you do with joy. Like I animated a little video of Charles Eisenstein. He talks about this really well. I can put a little link up somewhere to it, but like, it's exactly like following, what lights you up, like what makes you come alive, and follow that.
If you send me the link to that, I can put it in the show notes for this episode so people can click on it.
Yeah, I just thought of it because he talks so eloquently about it, but it's that exactly this kind of thing. Is like we're so in our culture, because everything has to have this outcome and purpose and results, and we're too fixated on that, and it's hard to, I think, also as an artistic person or creative person, which we all are creative people, like, and it's like, to feel like you're not just quote unquote wasting time when you're making, like, puttering around, creating something, or whatever again that is for your particular, and that's what we have to find, like, what is that in you specifically that makes you come alive. And then and trust, like you were saying before, is a huge component of it, to like, you don't know yet what it's gonna.
That's a beautiful note to end on.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that segment with Edie and Nina, all about sacred desire. I realized that that's something that I talk about in terms of inspiration, and it's always fun to talk about how people kind of come to that innate realization within themselves of what sparks them, what makes them come alive, as Edie said. So I'm going to read a little bit from the safety card, which I didn't get to talk with Edie and Nina about. They'll be back in next week's episode to chat with us about the next release. But for this one, I just wanted to read some of Nina's words because I feel very drawn to them. I have to say, so this box, this card set that I have, the Inner Child and Beyond, that I bought from Sage Moon, there is a reason why Hay House has decided to sell these. I mean, they're impeccable. This box of cards, this Oracle deck, the booklet that it comes with, it is so useful and lovely. I actually bought another card deck the other day because I was like really excited about card decks, because after this one, I just was like, man, am I spoiled? This one is just so good. The other one was okay, but it just, just the artwork, the words, I mean, everything. Okay. So she writes safety, which is card number 3. Many of us did not feel safe growing up. You might have experienced unsafe physical or emotional environments. There might not have been an adult you could go to when you were in distress. As a result, you may spend most of your life reacting to potential invisible threats, which exhausts your nervous system. We cannot access our sense of joy, belonging, and connection when our survival brain is activated. And she goes on in the invitation. Then the inner child part, so there's sections to each thing, invitation, inner child, and then journey. So in the inner child portion of the booklet, she says, or of this card in the booklet, can you recall a moment in your childhood when you felt completely safe and trusting like the child in this image? So this is the image. It reminds me of the Little Prince. If you're not on the video part of the podcast, if you're listening to this on like Apple or something, you can go to my YouTube channel, Inspired Artist Podcast, and you can see the card that I just held up. But it looks like, it's a little tree, and it's looks like a little boy sleeping with some foxes and some sheep, and at the bottom of the, on the grass. So can you recall a moment in your childhood where you felt completely safe and trusting like the child in this image? Allow yourself to revisit that memory. And then I love that she added this. If nothing comes to mind, we invite you to visit this image and imagine yourself as this child. Feel the support of the tree, the warm, soft breeze, and the peacefulness of the scene. Engage all of your senses as you breathe, focusing on lengthening the exhalation. That's something that's very calming to the nervous system, lengthening the exhalation. Say out loud, we are safe. This is safe. So when I was writing this song, I was thinking about safety, obviously, and just feeling that innate sense of safety that we experience when we are connected to our soul, when we're connected to source, when we're in a state of alignment, because that's really the only safety that we are ever guaranteed. Similarly to the love card, or not the love card, but I called it the mother card that I wrote, I am the love, about. If we're constantly seeking these things, safety, love, from external places, from other people, from experiences, we're seeking it from a place of lack, from not feeling it. And we're never going to get it from the outside because we perceive that we're lacking it. When I talked about alchemy in the last episode, I talked about how we know, scientists know this is not, it's not witchcraft. Well, maybe it is, if we're talking about, the world as potentially, spells and crafts and stuff, because if we are indeed creating the image of our world, of our reality, internally from the inside out, and this has been proven, this is quantum physics, then we are in a sense sort of spell casting. So it sort of depends on how you understand the world, I guess. On the one hand, you could sort of look at it like witchcraft. On the other, it could be science, which is an interesting play that this author that I just finished reading her book called The Spell of Rosette kind of uses in her two worlds, where she has one world that is governed by witchcraft and the other that's governed by science and physics, and they're exactly they are very similar principles, but seem like worlds apart. Anyway, if we know, which we do, that we are all basically pretending to be living on a flat earth that we all know is round. I mean, we don't all know. We have not all caught up with this new reality that we are creating the image of our reality from the inside out. But if we do understand this, and we're all on the same page here that I'm talking about, then we understand that seeking something outside of ourselves is never going to work, because that's not how reality works. So it's sort of like seeking to change your reflection in the mirror and not understanding that it is reflecting you. So, like you see like a smudge, on your cheek, and you try to fix it in the mirror, you're never going to get that smudge off. You have to take it off of your actual cheek, right? So if you're seeking safety or love outside of yourself, if you're not feeling it, like this connection that you have to a wellspring of abundant safety and love that is source, that is the cosmos, the universe, whatever, then you're never going to experience it, because that's not how it works. That's like trying to change the reflection and not understanding that you are what is reflecting. So I think that's all I have to say about that. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to write in the comment section down below if you're watching this on YouTube, or leave me a review with a question, or you can email me at inspiredartistpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, have a great week. Bye.
I am safe in the arms of my Creator. I am safe and sound. I am calm and present here. I am safe and sound. I am safe and sound. Look around, safe and sound. We are safe and sound.
Thanks for tuning into the podcast, y'all. Please like, subscribe, rate, comment, whatever the platform you listen to podcasts on offers you as a way to let its algorithm know that you're enjoying these episodes. That really helps. Also, there's some links in the podcast description notes that allow you to support the podcast in a way that benefits you and us. So please check those out. And if you'd like to stay in touch with me, you can sign up for my mailing list at portersinger.com. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.